Welcome YouTube to the video for Gate 32 Line 3 of the Rave Mandala. My name is Chris McCleary and we have two purposes for this video. Number one is to go deep into the Rave Mandala line to help you research your own human design chart. If you have Gate 32 Line 3 defined, this is the video for you. You don't want to miss this. But we also have in this channel a weekly CIRF report, which is the Collective Influence and Forecast Report, number 447. And we have a full moon coming up that is unlocking this gate and line combination. It happens in it. And so it unlocks at the time of the full moon and the period around it, this continuum, the lack of continuity. So if you sound interested in that, join our community and subscribe. So going into Gate 32, duration. The only thing which endures is change. The goal of this gate is to endure and adapt intelligently through the cycles of change. As we go down into line 3, it gets a lot more specific. The increment says indecision and persistent reevaluation that only because of its basic intelligence manages to endure. Indecision in times of transformation. That doesn't sound like a positive thing, but we'll get deep into this and figure out what's going on. The decrement side says an over-reliance on traditionally legitimized standards that in times of change can be totally out of step and suffer unexpected humiliation. Humiliation being a key word there. And it also says a lack of instinct in times of transformation, meaning that you're not using any of the instincts, especially the ones that are talked about in human design and in your human design chart that are very specific to you, including the authority, inner authority. But anyway, let's look at this summary of this line. The goal of this line is to navigate the tension between hesitation and rigidity during times of transformation. If we had another title to use that might be more explanatory, it would be the analyzer versus the traditionalist, surviving change without losing yourself. All right, so let's go through the increment and decrement. By the way, we have these planets that are in charge of the increment. That's Mercury. Decrement is Jupiter. All right, so for the increment is Mercury, and we need Mercury to do the questioning and evaluating the assumptions. We need him to refine the strategy for how to respond, and this aids in conceptualizing what the topic even is. Ultimately, Mercury helps to avoid catastrophic mistakes, like really big decisions with big implications. Mercury is sort of the logical pros and cons, rational book learning kind of energy. All right. But Mercury can be a little fast and be quick to make a decision, impulsive. But ironically, the rationalizing and logic, especially when it's mulling over and taking a lot of time to do it, is actually helping us. And that's what that's why it's in the increment. Is a lot of times the rational is so like damned if you do, damned if you don't, or cognitive dissonance where they're two opposing non-compatible ideas or decisions. So we have to pick one, or we feel like we have to pick one. That's what Mercury helps us with. It's the time that it takes to do it and to do it right. But then extreme Mercury, what is extreme Mercury in this case, It's mistaking that thinking is progress, not just thinking. It needs to be meaningful thinking and progressing the decision. How do we know if Mercury is helping or hindering? Like, how do we know if it's just mulling it over and not getting anywhere? Well, number one, if there's a need for clarity, if you notice that there's a thirst for clarity becoming very dominant, that's probably a good sign that Mercury is looping and not helping, because it's now looking outside of self for the answer. It says, I've exhausted all my thought processes. I can't do much more. And now I need someone else to just tell me. That's what clarity really is in the decision making. I want someone just to tell me right now. Another tell of extreme Mercury is the presence of fear. With pressure now to decide, this is high time for escapism, and escapism creates more problems. It's just, I don't care, just make the decision. Well, if it's like impulsive like that, then now we have disaster looming. And it's a form of escapism, because it's basically, I just can't stand this this conflict. I can't stand not knowing. There's a discomfort, and then we're going to escape the discomfort by just making a haphazard decision. It's also, there's one last indicator, which is the fear of making the decision, making a wrong choice, which delays the whole thing even more. But a little bit of that isn't so bad. It's when it becomes really extreme, or really long and drawn out. Or maybe you might be just distracting yourself so that you don't have to think about it anymore. But no decision is also a decision, basically. So that's the extreme Mercury. Then on the decrement side is Jupiter, and he's over here, and we've seen him for the past few CIRF reports. It represents the humility to learn from the past without worshiping it or hanging onto it too tightly. Jupiter, one of archetypes of Jupiter is wisdom. And this is learned experiential wisdom. But, well, hold on that thought. The other thing that during times of transformation, the Jupiter decrement side values instinct over both book knowledge and experiential wisdom. So this supersedes both of them, but Jupiter's past wisdom does help. It's when it gets too extreme, it wants to hold on to the past. So basically, recognize Jupiter's past wisdom, recognize that it's there, that it wants to help you, but divert your attention to the instinct. And in human design, it's your inner authority, but instinct is specifically the spleen. So inner spleen, knowing, reading the spleen correctly is gold. It's knowing your intuition. It's the inner knowing, but it's very specific to the spleen. Okay? If the spleen is undefined, then you need to find someone who does have a defined spleen. And then you basically just watch what they do instinctively. Now, when we get to extreme Jupiter, it gets too rigid. It is holding too tightly to the past. It's resisting change in favor of tradition or past rules. Well, I don't know why we're changing anyway. It lacks the awareness that what worked in the past no longer is relevant. And then the next phase is humiliation. So he's going to argue, like right in this picture, he's arguing to the group that we've always done it this way. We always had a landline phone, and now everyone just starts laughing and howling. Yeah, we need landline phones. And that's it's one of the examples. Signs of too much decrement or too much Jupiter. You might have resistance, especially with you might be resisting, but you also might see resistance in others, resistance to listen to you. You might be using nostalgia as a weapon. And then, we've seen these old wise people just kind of ruminating in nostalgia, but it's not helpful. Yeah, great for you to have that great memory, but you're wasting our time. We need to go change. You might have an inner conflict between tradition and instinct. That would be cognitive dissonance. Then you got a turmoil and go hop back over to Mercury to help you solve that one. Here's the last one, sign of too much Jupiter is that you start to accentuate using titles, seniority, maybe credentials or schooling that you had. I have all this experience. You should listen to me. And that will also, if you're in this decrement, it will lead to humiliation. So an example is personal growth. It's a mind-body kind of an example, but someone quitting alcohol. Mercury, the Mercury side says, hey, we need to think about quitting alcohol, and researches sobriety strategies, probably for months on end. Well, Jupiter comes in and uses AA's time-tested steps adaptively. So now we've seen both Mercury and Jupiter. And then we also need the instinct, and that's the spleen. We know the inner knowing extracts the exact day to start. There's no more days. You think of your mind trying to ascertain which day to start. So the balance point here in this example is that Mercury plans. You first generated an idea for change because you've reached that point, but you don't know how to change. And so Mercury helps you research it. You're reading things, you're listening to people, you're rationalizing. But then you're also saying, this is really kind of beyond me. I'm going to need some extra wisdom. So that's the Jupiter side. Either talking to someone more professional or has the experience to give advice, or like a system like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And so with those combinations, you get an instinct. It generates the instinct that says, now I'm ready to go. It's an inner peace. It's not like the change that you're going to do is easy or peaceful. It might be very difficult. It might be going up a mountain, a steep mountain, but you just know that this is the right activity and it's the right time for me. And that is what this line is all about. The mantra to make sure that you're in a balanced state is that I learn from the past, prepare with my mind, and I act from my gut. I act from my intuition. I act from my spleen. All right. That's all I've got. Have a wonderful day.